Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Mayisa, and this is the third episode of MAONO CHATS, where women own their narratives. And today, as a guest, we have an ecosystem enabler, a creative, and a friend. Overall, an amazing woman, Niita Shikongo from Namibia. Hello, Niita.
Hello, thank you so much. That was such wow. I didn't know you were gonna gas me up with such a beautiful intro. Wow. Thank you so much. I feel so humbled.
Oh my
Thank you for
God,
having
look
me.
at you. So here's the thing. Let me give you all a heads up. So I'm recording from South Africa. We have load shedding, and for some reason,
Oof,
we don't have electricity. And I'm using every resources I have to be in this call. So
I was so
with that being with that being said, Nita, okay, I wanted you here because you're my friend and I absolutely admire you. But again, I need you to tell people about yourself because if I tell them about you, it's gonna sound, biased. So I need you to tell them about yourself.
Yeah, I think just to emphasize, there's going to be a lot of laughing in this episode, and I sincerely apologize to your audience because Jessica is a very,
Yep.
very good friend of mine. I think our friendship is based off of the most authentic energy and a whole lot of laughter. But to answer your question, first of all, thank you for having me. Truly humbled by the invitation. I think the past three episodes that I've seen have had amazing conversations. I've taken away a lot from them. But I'm happy to share what little I can, and hopefully somebody can take from it as well. I think we learn so much from community, especially with women, a community of women really supporting you and cheering you on and picking you up when you fall is the most important thing. But about me, I studied accounting, which is a strange thing for people to hear, especially when they don't, when they're meeting me for the first time. But I studied accounting, and I think within that period of being at university and experiencing so many different things external to my academics was when I was really exposed to the space and the possibility of the career that I actually wanted, which was in branding, communications, and public relations. Um, so yeah, I grew up. I'm born, partially raised in Namibia. I did have a couple of
Partially.
stints. Partially, yes. Because of my dad's work, we would move around a lot. So I lived
Yeah.
in the UK for a couple of years, as well as in Malaysia. But I really feel like I get immediately homesick the moment I leave my home country, even if I'm away for like 2 days. Like Namibia is the best place in the world. Sorry, I'm biased. Um, Yes, and I think also having traveled and moved and lived a lot of places when I was young also has made me a very adaptable person, and that also shows within my career. I can really adapt or work in any kind of workspace because I've been exposed to so many different types of people in so many different types of places. But yes, um, like I said, I studied accounting, but within my varsity career, I did a lot of work on the side in marketing, like promotion work and so on. And I really started to fall in love with the worlds of marketing and beyond, being branding and communications.
Mm, mm.
My first ever job was as a project coordinator, but because it was such a small team, I found myself doing so playing so many of the different roles in the organization, including marketing and rebranding literally the entire entity, which is how we met within the startup ecosystem. And then I went further on. I worked partially as a marketing manager for a while. I've worked as a facilitator of programs, developing and creating those within the startup ecosystem and outside. And currently, I'm a brand and product development officer at a design studio. So, what I do is create and develop concepts um, and prepare them for execution, yes, by a project management team.
We're gonna invite
So,
you
I
for a
babble a
training.
lot. I babble a lot. Stop me. There should be like a little timer.
No, like we're gonna invite you for a training because I feel like when it comes to the creative industry, although we do have women in the creative industry, we don't have women in specific areas of the creative industry. So we're talking marketing, we're talking design, we're talking branding. It's not very female dominated unless you're doing like Instagram and stuff. So definitely people need to learn more about it. That's why I feel like it's just a matter of learning. Oh my God. Okay, where do I start? My question is, no, when I met you, I remember, because when you mentioned accounting, I remember when you met and you were talking, of course we talk a lot. And you were mentioning, no, I did accounting and whatever. And I was mentioning that I did law for like 2 years. Of course, it was a mess. But like we were talking about how we just went sideways from whatever we were doing. So my question to you is, what inspired you to pursue the path that you're in creating, in marketing, in branding? What changed?
I don't think it's so much as something that changes, but it's more of an acknowledgement of who you are and what you're actually destined to do. And I think with a lot of people, especially with young people, because you're fighting with an identity crisis, it's your parents or your family members pushing you in a different direction. I think for me, it was really just coming to a point of realization to understand that I think even my personality wasn't suited for the career that I had initially chosen. And also the fact that I've just been a very creative person my whole life, like since I've been young. I didn't even mention in my intro because I was trying to keep it professional. But I'm also a creative. I'm a poet, I'm a writer, I'm a songwriter as well.
I mentioned it. I mentioned it in your intro. I was like, she's a creative.
Correct. And all of these things have been, I think that's why it's also so important to listen to and pay sincere attention to who your children are when they're young, and the behaviors they're exhibiting and what they're showing a love or a passion for, because it really draws back to who they were at that time. That was the most authentic and genuine form of yourself before the world added to it or took away from it. And that's really the journey that I had. It was sort of like circling back to my younger self and getting in touch with things that I'm in love with, things that I'm passionate about, and things that really complement my personality. Because I think you work best and most productively in a space where it's suited to your personality type and who and what you are and how you work. I think people don't think about that. They're like, oh, I want to go into this profession. But you also need to look at your personality type. If this is a career that's demanding routine and long hours, but you're somebody
I can't hear you for some reason. Jesus, wait. What's happening?
Okay, I think I got muted. I don't know how, but I hope you got that last bit.
Are you back?
I'm back.
Okay, thank you. Because I was looking, I was like, why can I listen? Okay, go.
I think Zoom just did a thing, but what I was essentially saying is that you need to get in tune with yourself, and really understand what kind of personality you carry, so that you make sure that you're in a working environment, in a career specifically, that is also suited to the person that you are, and not try to force yourself into a space that people think would be good for you, or no, there's a lot of money in this space, but you truly know that it's not suited for you or to you. So and I think that's how my specific career.
I'm going off script now, but I'm going to ask you, how do you do that? Because like you said, we do have identity crisis all the time. Because we're smart human beings and we keep thinking the meaning of life and we go down that drain. As a woman, how do you at least get to the surface of figuring out what's your personality type, or who you are in whatever space, who you are in essence? Like, how do you do that? How did you do it?
One thing I'll say is that going through the trenches is a one-man job. The process of finding out who you are, really getting in tune with your identity, and it's also a journey that doesn't stop. It's something that continues, because you will continue to change until your very last day. But it's getting comfortable with being alone, because I think it's in those spaces that you really, it's in those spaces that you really get to identify who you are, what it is that you like, without having a third or a second voice or a peer influencing what Niita is really thinking, what Niita is really feeling. And I think a second thing is getting comfortable with failing, because I think, like you said, we're brilliant human beings. We're smart, we're intuitive, we're curious. And sometimes I think personally for me, I had such a long track record of not failing, of just being an excellent student, an excellent worker. And when it would come to situations where I would fail, instead of stopping to understand why I failed at this thing, and perhaps that there was something from it, I kind of ran from the failure, and it was sort of like a negative thing, like, oh, I failed, and then you just fall like into this pit of wallow, as opposed to going back to the source and trying to understand what it is that you need to learn from it. So I think spending time on your own, getting to really know yourself, and also failing, allowing yourself to try different things so that you can see that it actually doesn't work. Because until you've experienced it, until you've understood that, oh, I've been in this space, you'll never know that it's gonna work for you or not. Same with me for accounting. I had to quite literally go through this journey, of this academic journey, to understand that this is not something that is for me, And it was okay for me to fail in that, because it then led me to the place that I'm at right now. So that's the only advice that
you keep throwing me off script, because I have questions, and now you're talking about things that I need to dive into.
Get into it. Let's get into it.
But here's my thing. You mentioned personality. You mentioned finding yourself, and kind of like being comfortable with being alone. And that's one of the things that I do believe that, okay, I'm here for women, but most people experience the fact that you have to be alone. And we don't actually realize the fact that we need to be alone. There's certain seasons in our lives that you need to be just by yourself, listen to yourself without any external influence, and figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And that's one thing that I want to talk about, like, and I know you're very ambitious, and you're driven, and you actually achieve your goals, and that's what I admire about you. How do you get to that space where you're like, now I need to be alone, and you recognize the fact that you need to be alone in that season? How do you do that as a professional? How do you do it?
I think for me, it's also quite a spiritual thing. I think your spirit and your body work in tune. So you'll kind of just have a feeling, sort of like knowing, when you want to resign a place, or knowing when you want to take the next step in a relationship with somebody. Sometimes it's really just a thing of listening to self, because if you allow your spirit and your body to move in tune, then usually, like, you can never go wrong. I think your gut feeling will always tell you. But a lot of the times, it can be guided either by your current experience in the workplace, or it can be your current experience with colleagues and or friends. If you just in any way you feel an off feeling, that is something for you to stop and tap into, to understand why you feel a certain way. Because if something is off balance, there's a reason. A lot of the time we want to ignore when our bodies are telling us, whether physically or emotionally or spiritually, that something is wrong, or that something is off. And we've got to stop to do work before we can continue on our journey. And I think that's the only thing, like, listen to yourself, trust yourself, build that relationship with Niita, and be able to say, like, I actually don't feel good about this. And I understand that this is not just coming from a random place, that I do need to stop, introspect, and maybe understand, if it's not internal, what is the external factor that's making me feel this way? And how can I, how can I work on it? Because you can only do so much as yourself. You can't control other people, you can't control environments. And if it comes to a point where there's nothing that you can do about it, then perhaps you must extract yourself from that space. But being alone, being in that thinking space would allow you to run through this process of like, okay, what is it that's going on? How do I feel about it? What can I do about it? Yeah. So trust yourself, listen to yourself.
Personally, this is a conversation, right? So personally, I have been through a lot of things, but
Girl, episode next, personally.
When it comes to listening to your body, I think I learned that last year. I wasn't actually listening to my body. I was just functioning, because you get to a point in your career or your life where you're just in autopilot. You're just functioning because you need to be there, to do things, but you're not feeling yourself. And
yeah,
my thing is, I'm quite of a loner, so I didn't have anyone to go to and talk about it. So I was just push through, like trust the process, like everyone says, which personally I believe in it, but at the same time it's bullshit. Like, let me call it now. Let me call it now, it's bullshit. But I now started listening to my body, and sometimes I know that I'm feeling sleepy because maybe I am sad, or I can function at this point in time for whatever I need to do. And that doesn't take the value of what I will do afterwards. And that's the thing, I don't think people talk. That's literally part of mental health, and we don't talk about it as we should. But
I think you even touched a nerve. You touched a nerve when you said you were, especially in your career, that you were operating on autopilot. I don't think, especially with the gender field starting to level out now in professional careers, I don't think people understand the pressure that is on women in comparison to men, because you are expected to show up in perfection. You are expected to deliver excellence every single time.
Regardless.
The moment that you make one error, it doesn't just reflect on you as a woman, it reflects on any professional woman.
The whole,
and this is why women shouldn't be hired, or this is why they should be put in positions of management. You know what I mean? So it's just a lot of pressure. And you do come sometimes to, when you do tap out of self and you're no longer in tune, that you're sort of like just drudging along and carrying yourself through this work and making sure that everything is fine externally, but on the inside you're absolutely burnt out or you're crashing. And I think we need to have these conversations, especially with working women, with professionals, that it's okay to rest. It's okay to take a break. I've come across people who absolutely don't believe in taking leave days, or like just, taking a holiday and stuff like that. Yeah, no, I've got stuff to deliver. And somebody told me something so profound the other day, that if you die, in service of this work, if you die, if you kill yourself, overwork, you're overworking yourself, you're not taking care of yourself, best believe, sweetie, they're going to have a replacement the next day. If not the next day. And I promise you, it'll serve you so well. It will serve you, your environment, your working environment, your colleagues, your job so well if you take care of yourself first, because that's the vessel that's executing your work. But if you let it wear down and get broken apart, what exactly are you giving? How productive actually are you?
I was talking about this just like 30 minutes before we started the call with my friend, like my roommate, and we were like, okay, I wrote an article on LinkedIn that I think it was kind of harsh, but at the same time, I really don't care.
Honesty hurts.
Honesty hurts.
Honesty can hurt.
Here's my thing: there's no change without chaos. So if I'm the element of chaos, let me be the element of chaos. It's okay.
So be it. So be it.
And I published an article on Women's International Day, whatever. And one of the points was exactly what you mentioned. We don't look at leave and rest, and whenever a woman makes a mistake, it's a huge problem. If a man makes the same mistake, it's understandable. He was going through something, or he wasn't. Let's give him another chance.
Yeah.
They will find excuses for him to get another chance. And I'm like, I don't want to sound like a feminist, but I am. But I am.
Listen.
And here's my thing. I told them, and in the article, and I tagged you, by the way. So just to be aware.
Yes, I read it.
I linked it. Yeah. I was like, here's my thing. You don't realize what it takes from a woman for her to raise her hand in a meeting or in a public setting whatsoever. We've been in rooms. We've been in rooms together, and we always talk to each other before we voice something out.
Yeah.
That's like, there's a culture upon us that has reprimanded us for every single thing, and especially for being public. And this is my thing. It's enough. You don't have to do that in your company. If a woman actually decides to bring an idea or to raise her hand in a meeting, you need to listen.
Yeah.
I don't mean you need to implement whatever she suggested, but listen.
Just listen.
Because that means a lot for what we're doing in terms of gender equity. So like, that's what came to my mind. I'm like, action.
Girl, we've been in a situation where we're literally like, oh, should I raise my hand? Oh, no, like you raise your hand, and then like I'll support your statement. And it's literally like that in the most casual circumstances, and also like in a professional working space. You need to find some sort of support before you can, voice your opinion or pitch a project, or especially if you're going in a completely different direction. Exactly, you're going in a completely different direction that your colleagues or like the company is going in, and you're trying to, get people to go in an innovative direction. You'll immediately get shot down. Like, it's just half the time it discourages women. Like, you just find that there's working professionals that don't even speak anymore, like don't let their ideas come to light, so I think it's important that we do.
Following that, I want to ask you, what was your biggest challenge in a professional setting? And especially because I feel like and I know that you're a very diversified professional. Your skill set is like extremely broad, from technical to creative, you're there. And I applaud you for actually learning those skills. You did that and you broadened your skill set. What was your biggest challenge? What was the moment you were like, oh, okay, this is a challenge and I need to overcome it? How did you do it?
I think I can probably identify two, just for the purpose of making an example and obviously sharing something that somebody could take from this. I think the first one was when you work with individuals that whether it's an acquaintance or a longtime friend, and you just come to disagreements. You're at a level of familiarity where disagreements are a lot more frequent, or there's just a certain lack of professionalism because I know we're friends, and I don't have to extend you certain to extend you certain formal courtesies that I would to somebody else that I don't that I don't like personally know, or that is a colleague or partner elsewhere, and I don't want to express obviously like the details, but it became like in several different scenarios, it became a difficult situation to work in, because you become frustrated and it really affects your work. And I think the one thing that I could learn from that, because I had to go back and look at how I was also wrong, was communication. Because I think there's no point in me identifying a challenge if I can't connect it to a learned solution. And I think that was one of the most important things, that you have to have the hard and sometimes difficult conversations with people, especially when it's people that not only to maintain the foundation of the relationship that you have with them, but in order to be able to do your work productively, especially if you find yourselves in the same working setting or the same working environment or same company, it doesn't really matter. That was one of the not so heavy challenges. The other was, I think, being in a very difficult working environment where either colleagues or superiors or both, just make your work purposely difficult to do, and it feels like, maybe you feel like the whole country, not the whole country, sorry, the whole department or your team or your boss is ganging up on you, especially if it's somebody of a different gender, if it's a man.
Yeah.
And I really tussled with a certain situation for quite a while. Like, I think it affected my mental health. I actually started to have such terrible imposter syndrome because I kind of started to doubt all of the years of experience and brilliant work that I've done. And you come to this place and you're like, oh, maybe I'm not, that great a working professional. Maybe I shouldn't be, in this career space. Or you start asking yourself all of these different questions. And I think it was such a challenge for me because I now wrestled with remaining in this space or leaving a toxic environment for my own better health. And I think all the while that even before I started working, the word quit, the word resignation, the word leave was just like a negative thing. Like, it's just something that is so frowned upon, even if remaining at that place is at the expense of your health or any good of you. And so I think that was the biggest challenge for me because I really had to tussle with what it would look like, what people would say, but then come back and counter that and remind myself that none of those external factors matter. Again, coming to the source of self, that if I was to let myself burn down and break and, just set on fire, what good am I serving? How productive really am I? Feeding into my creativity, into my brilliance by allowing myself to stay in such an environment? Or would it be best for me to step away and perhaps to then be led to the next, thing that is set up on my journey, and somebody else who perhaps is better suited for that environment? Because sometimes it's really just not for you.
Not
and that's
for
why I
you.
firmly believe things that are for you, they can never escape you. But if you force yourself into spaces that are not for you, best believe they will find a way to chuck you out. They will bring you back and be like, if they don't chuck you out, you'll take yourself out of that environment yourself, because you'll understand that this is really not for me, or it's hurting me, or it's really damaging in some or other way. So I think that was one challenge that I really faced, which was leaving a toxic, or like a difficult working environment. And I think it's okay to do that. Your life, your professional career is not one place. For some people it is.
Oh, can we talk about that? Can we talk about that part?
Be okay with leaving, girl. Like, leave. If it's good for you, leave.
Or allow them to let you go, because sometimes they will let you go.
Period.
And please.
Period.
Be in peace with that fact. I know, here's my thing. And I'm glad you touched on that point. I'm so happy for when people let go of you, people or companies let go of you, because that's a blessing. I don't know. I choose to see it as an opportunity for something better. But sometimes it's either you resigning or the company letting go of you. And I see that as an opportunity for the next best thing of your life. Maybe I'm just an optimistic person.
Absolutely.
But I choose to see it that way. And
but we're on the positive spectrum of things.
Let's be on the positive spectrum. Here's my thing. Sometimes, and I say this from experience, you won't let go of a job because necessity. Let's just go down to the necessity keeps you in a job. I don't know if he's still there. I really don't know if he's still there. Niita? Okay, it's a bit. Niita? He's still on the call, so I'm not sure what's happening. She's gone. Oh, okay. If you're doing Zoom calls or whatever recorded, you're gonna have these moments where you don't know what's happening and people are just gone. People are just gone, and this happens. I hope you don't get discouraged in terms of being on this call because we're having such a beautiful conversation and we need to continue, okay? So let me talk to my guests and get her back on the call. She's back.
We are back. The devil tried us.
The devil is a liar. The devil is a liar. But
and you were
okay,
even on
yes. Sorry?
You were saying something about, you know, letting whether an entity lets you leave or...
Let's go back to that. I know that in Africa, let's be specific, in Africa, most of our countries.
Let's bring it home.
Let's bring it home. In Africa, getting a job is it's not like, I just feel like it's not a hobby. It's literally out of necessity. If you didn't have to, you'd just be in college or studying something or doing whatever, but you wouldn't be working. And especially because, you know, the sexual harassment, everything that happens in the workplace environment. So it's hard for women to let go of jobs. It's easier for companies to fire us than to just for us to let it go. Even if it's toxic, even if it's unbearable, trust me, Niita, we will stay. We will literally stay, hold on to it with our lives because we know
sometimes
we need
it's even
to...
You've gotten so used to the situation, and I think it's quite sad that you have to weigh between, you know, I've got my family to feed, you know, I've got, you know, there's somebody in the hospital, or this is my means of income. And especially in situations of harassment or sexual assault or any kind of abuse in the workplace.
I've been through that.
Especially when it comes from your superior. Especially when it comes, from your superior. Sorry, you were saying?
No, here's my thing. I've been to sexual harassment to get a job. I've been to sexual harassment in the job. And it doesn't make it any better. It's the same. If you want to talk like that, it's the same. It's humiliating. It's threatening. You don't feel safe in any other place. Because if I'm in an office, literally
and I'm so
has
sorry
like
to
computers and everything, but I feel unsafe because there's someone in that room. If they come out of that room, I'll feel threatened. That's terrible. That's a terrible feeling. And one of the reasons I decided to like, let's just do this. Like, women need to own the narrative. They need to tell the stories how it is. It's because
absolutely,
I really don't want another woman to go through what I went through. It's terrible. Maybe I'm built a different way and I'm strong enough to go through it and handle it. But I know there's certain people that can't handle that. And I don't want them to go through it. It's okay. It's okay. It stops with me. And that's my plea. Like, it stops with me. Whatever I went through stops with me. So that's clear.
I'm so sorry to...
Thank you.
I'm so sorry to hear that, but I'm so proud of you, because I know we've had a lot of these conversations, obviously external of MAONO chats, but I think it's such an important thing for us to speak about it, because even now you'll walk into rooms where people act like sexual harassment in the workplace doesn't happen, or they, you know, you want to silence a woman's voice. But I firmly believe that the more it's spoken about, the more it'll even become difficult for somebody to try to enforce that kind of abuse on somebody, because it's so widely spoken about, it's so widely condemned, and companies and entities actually start doing something about it other than just a policy that's on paper. You know what I mean?
No, anyways, that's the 10th episode of MAONO. Because I feel like sexual harassment is a topic on its own.
Indeed.
We all went through it, and even things beyond sexual harassment, we've been through it. Yeah. We just carry it like it's light, but it's not. We're just trying to make a living.
I say, like, in every avenue, being a woman is like 10 times more difficult than for a man. I literally had a conversation. Yesterday was the 8th of March. It was International Women's Day. And I had a very frank conversation with a male colleague of mine who it really started off as satire or sort of as a jokey way, but he was like, why do women deserve a day anyway? Why do women deserve a month anyway? And I just asked him to really think about the question, from carrying a child, giving birth to a child, raising households and, generation onto generation, having to sacrifice so much of your life to make sure that your partner's works. Like there's so many things that women do, and not just from a sacrificing standpoint, but just like brilliant things that they've been doing. Even when we were slaves, women would come up with the most innovative tricks and tactics to make sure that their children were safe, to make sure that families traveled, were able to escape from plantation. Like from throughout history, women have exhibited their brilliance, but for all of eternity, since it's been known, we've just tried to put the woman down. So she does deserve a day. She does deserve a month where she's celebrated.
A day. This is a year. Like I feel like we deserve a year.
Daily.
This is my thing, and I want to take it back to like I was referring to whenever we were talking. If women didn't exist, humanity wouldn't exist.
Period. Let's just stop there. Like that's the end. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk. We sincerely appreciate. Do you understand? Thanks. Cool.
Bro, you took me so off track. Now, like my questions are pretty much invalid. But
my apologies. I told you I dabbled.
Because I feel like we touched on so many important topics for women, especially on the professional space. But my next question is something that I always wanted to ask. Who is your like biggest female inspiration and why?
That is crazy because I'm truly energized and driven by so many women, yourself included. I think there's something that you can learn from and take from every single woman in and around your space, and also obviously those with bigger platforms. But I think one who I can highlight is our first lady, like Neme Monica Gengos. She is so, I think it's also just her entire career of business, and then transitioning into a role which is quite different, like being the first lady, but still carrying it with so much poise. I think in everything that she has ever done, if you look back at her track record, I don't even have to go, I won't finish if I go into her accolades and achievements I feel like she's firmly committed to execute and do everything within her power and within her reach with excellence, to give everything that she has of something. And I don't think she even does things that she's not passionate about, which is also something I feel like resonates with me. She's just a brilliant woman. But I think my biggest, not being contradictory, but I think my biggest female inspiration or woman would be my mother. It's such a cliche, but I swear that
never a cliche.
The roots and the origins of everything that I am, who I am as an individual, the way I treat others, the way I work, the way I push and strive for things, came from the source, that birthed me, that gave life to me, and taught me and continues to teach me so many things that I know to this day, that I can put into my work, that I can put into relationships with other people. So definitely them two. Mom definitely number one.
Mom is number one. This should always be
top two. Period.
No,
Who's yours?
My
actually?
mom. I feel like here's the thing. When people say my mom is my biggest inspiration, I don't even consider it a cliche. I consider it genuine and something that we can all relate to. Of course, majority of us can relate to
Yeah.
because your mom instills the essence of who you are. And
Yeah,
if she did
absolutely.
it the right way, then you're gonna have her as an inspiration. You know what I mean? So I
Absolutely.
don't consider it
Yeah.
a cliche. It's not a cliche. It's like it's your mom. It's the one person that loves
I
you
actually
unconditionally in this world.
absolutely. I actually think that even because I know you said like obviously not all of us have mothers, but any mother figure I think has such a significant impact on your life and the way somebody would turn out. So I
Mm.
really no, you've changed my perspective. It's not a cliche. She's my inspiration. Period. Who's yours? Who's yours?
Oh wow, that's a good question. That's my mom as well. That'll be my mom.
You're cheating. You're
I'm not.
cheating.
Okay, let me say, if I had to share one spot, it would be my mom and my best friend. My mom, because she taught me what love is and what type of
Wow,
woman I am and the resilience I can have, you know? She taught me how to
that's
be
beautiful.
strong. My best friend, she gave me perspective in terms of what I want to do for the rest of my life. She gave me
Yeah.
perspective, and
Oof.
every day she does that. She's like, no, strategy. She's a very strategic person, so she
Oof.
helps me shape my mind. Like, hey, this is what you need to do. You're not doing this right.
I
And
love that.
she's been through a lot of shit, but sorry, I cursed. But is the thing.
Listen,
Um,
beep. What is it called? The bleeper.
beep,
We'll just bleep that.
please put a bleeper. Beep. But she always gives me perspective on the woman I want to become, and she accepted me from day one in terms of who I
Yeah.
was and who I want to become. So
Oh,
these two women, I don't know how to put them in one place, but they are my inspiration. They are like my biggest
top
fan.
two, two,
Yeah.
top two.
And you're included in that because I don't know, I met you and we're getting to the end of our conversation, but I feel like I need to say this. When I met you, right? I have no idea, I had literally no idea of what to expect from Namibia. Here I was, a bunch of strangers, let's go. And then at dinner, I feel like we met at dinner. We were
Was that
talking.
dinner? It
Yeah,
was
it
that dinner at the place.
was we were just talking, like, banter, normal stuff, nothing serious. And we just connected. I don't know how it happened, but we just connected. And then we had a moment we shared while we thought about each other. But one thing that stood out about you for me was the fact that you know how to stand your ground. And that's something I needed to learn. And you taught me that. You really did.
Yeah.
You taught me how to stand my ground and how to demand what I need and to just speak up. I thought I was speaking up before I met you, but then I met you, I was like, okay, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. Because you do
Oh,
it in a very graceful, but yet assertive way. And I learned that from you. So hence I was like,
man.
nah, she needs to be my friend. I don't know how, I don't know
See,
when, but she's
I love
here.
you and I'm so proud of you. I don't think, I think it's oftentimes we don't realize how much we're growing. It's the people around us who actually take a
Yeah.
step back and like, wow, this person has really progressed between, point A and point Z. And just in the short space and time, because I think 3 years is a short space in time personally.
Is it
Because
three
I
years?
think we have a lifetime to go. It's going on to 3 years, babe.
Oh
um,
my God.
but I'm so proud of how you've come into this space of sort of purpose and walking and growing into your identity and really taking hold of the space that you deserve and recognizing that you can go after the big dreams that you talk to us about, that you are capable and you're going to inspire so many different people just by stepping out of a
Awesome.
space of fear. You're inspiring me personally. There's a lot of things that I'm looking at on my life list and I'm like, damn, Jessica would tell me this and this. Jessica would
I
say,
would.
go for it. Jessica would say, dive into the cold ass
Because I believe in you.
and just do it, you know. And I believe in you too so much. I'm so proud of you.
Oh my goodness. Okay, let's end this because otherwise we're gonna
Let's
stay
not
here
make
until
this Oprah
midnight.
show. We're gonna start crying and everything.
Yes, I see that coming. That's leave us with a quote. I mean, I have a quote that I live by, or that I mean, every day just comes to my mind for some reason, and it helps me navigate life. What's your quote? If it can be yours, or it can be from someone that makes sense to your life.
I know I'm mentioning the cliche again. And really somebody could ask you, I mean, like, how else would you do it? But really, it's my mantra. And it has been keeping me going for quite some time now. And it's just take it one day at a time. I promise you, one day at a time. The only way you're gonna get to the top of a mountain is by the constant steps. You go through this, go around this slope, then you go up this way.
Yeah.
One step at a time, one day at a time. Don't take off something more than you can chew, because maybe you could do it, but you'd burn out, kill yourself in the process, you'll crash. So just take things one day at a time, you know, and plan accordingly. Don't just show up to the day and you don't know what's going on. Know that on this day, I'm going to tackle this much, and I'm going to commit to myself and make this dedication that I'll get this done because I owe it to myself. The only person you're disrespecting by not living up to your dreams, by not showing up, by not being excellent, by not being brilliant is yourself.
It's you.
You know what I mean? So that's something I constantly have to like feed back into self. Like, just take it one day at a time, bro. Like, make sure you get this piece done, this piece of the pie. Then you go to the next one, then the next one. And things will eventually just like, you'll be like, whoa, I finished this. Or like, this has become a habit now. This is so much easier for me to do. Well, you can apply it to anything really, to like, you know, gym life. You can apply it to learning a new language. It doesn't matter. Just take things one step and one day at a time. Afford yourself that grace.
Oh, I have nothing else to say. I feel like you took over. Anyways, this one thing though. What if we host a Women's Month event in Namibia? But I will leave you with that. You think about
Girl.
it. It doesn't need to be a big event, just like 20, 30 people, whatever. We host an event to celebrate women with a personal development training in the beginning and then just partying. Think about it.
Oh my goodness. I'm bombing your phone after this call because personally it has to happen. Any reason that I can make to have Jessica come here, or I go to Joburg or whatever, I will make it happen.
Because there's so much magic. We need to get the people on board. Like, our sponsors need to be on board. I feel like venue, catering, drinks, they need to be on board, and then we're fire.
I think personally there's so much magic to be created within the community of women, whether it's 5 women that come together or like 20 women. Best believe that those networking moments, those conversations are going to build something.
They change your life.
From that, somebody's going to come up with a television show, or people are going to partner on, you know, some solution for a startup ecosystem across the continent. It really, there's no limits really to what women can do when they like work together.
I'm going to end this conversation with something you told me. Of course, not in the same words, I'm paraphrasing. But like when you said these events and the networking can change your life, you changed my life. We were talking in one of the moments in the studying empowering your startup ecosystem. And you said, you're valid for who you are and not for what you've done. I don't know if you remember that, but you said that. You're valid for what you are and not what you've done. Because you can always do different things, but who you are will constantly change, but your essence will remain the same. And you told me that, and I ran with it. So you changed my life in that moment. So
wow.
To connect to that point.
Damn. You're trying it today. You're pulling at the table.
I tried it. To go back to that point, like this networking events, the events that happen that focus on women, they can really change someone's trajectory. Because you don't
Absolutely.
know where I'm at when you're talking to me. Just talking to me because you're a woman and I'm a woman, then you feel safe.
I
But you
hear
maybe
you.
you might be changing my whole life and my whole purpose.
Definitely.
And for that, I'm grateful for you. That's one.
Man, God
I
bless you, Jessica. God bless you.
Do you have
I hope
anything
you
to say, perhaps leaving your Instagram handles or something that you would like people to know about you? This is the moment.
yeah, I'm in a very transitionary period, I think, both career and creative wise. And it's really taking a lot of time, but I want to emphasize a theme that I'm working on at the moment personally, which is patience.
Yeah.
Just practice it, that just you stick it through, like things will come to you when they need to come to you. And if you're not leaving a certain space or leaving a certain moment, you're not finishing that poem or finishing that song, there's something to learn in that stillness, in that moment. So just don't run, spend time with yourself. And I think, yeah, you will get to where you need to be. Personally, if you need to find me online, it's at Shikongo, as in SHECANTGO. And you can find me on all social media with that handle. So
I will tag
connect with me,
her
drop me a
in
message.
our post. I'll tag her on the Instagram post. It's fine. You'll find her.
Absolutely. So talk to me. We can talk about creative projects. We can talk about, concept work and development, project coordination, any information that I can share, or maybe we can work on something together.
Yeah.
Just let me.
I don't vouch for a lot of people, but I vouch for her because her mind is just brilliant. I don't know how she can go from
Damn.
creative to technical in like a split of a second. I can't. And I know I can do it, but not like that fast. And she does it. So
I'm so
believe her.
grateful for you.
I vouch
Thank
for
you.
her.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being part of this, Niita. I appreciate you. And, I'll share it and then you'll do the most on LinkedIn, obviously.
Here.
I
Long overdue,
appreciate
my
you.
day.
And all I wish for your future is more prosperity and everything that your heart
Yeah.
desires professionally.
Thank
Thank you so much
you.
for being in my life.
Thank you so much. Thank you for, I'm so grateful that I'm able to experience you in this lifetime. And I say it to selective people because there's certain people that you meet and their life, like that experience with them, that encounter just touches or changes your life in the most drastic way. You've made me see things with such a different perspective. I have so much more gratitude, so much more joy. And it's in the little things. And I've learned that all from you. So thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I love you.
I love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much. Let me switch off from the call. Thank you. This was the third episode of MAONO Chats. We had Niita Shikongo with us, and you will see from the conversation, it was genuine, it was real, it was beautiful, and it was all about sisterhood and uplifting women. I hope you share and we share this with every woman that you care about, and we keep owning our narrative. My name is Jessica Manisa. Thank you for
Absolutely.
joining in.
Happy Women's Month.